Hello, young YouTube entrepreneur and up-and-coming content creator. Love motovlogging? But editing getting you down? Fret not, my old bean. Put out that fire and pay attention. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm so awkward.
I am actually going to do a video. I know a lot of motovloggers and a lot of people just put content on YouTube. Like, editing is a bitch, and I'm going to kind of try and do a video from my desk kind of showing how I do editing.
Well, this is going to be a whole new experience. I'm going to do this video from my desk rather than on the bike, as you can probably see, because this is not a bike, this is a computer screen. I said I was going to do this video in my last video, kind of like the generic, or like the loose idea of the loose process of how I do editing. Wow, this is off to a fucking articulate start. I guess to start off with, this is DaVinci Resolve. I use this because it is free. Now, that's not just because I'm a cheapskate, but I am. If you've not done editing before, or if you don't like your editing software, then you can try this out, and they'll never charge you for it if you want to continue not paying for it. You don't have to get the studio version. And that's kind of like a cost-free way of having a crack at editing, because if you don't get on with it, last thing you want to do is go out and spend, if you wanted like Adobe Premiere Pro, that's 240 quid a year. I don't know how much like Cyberlink Power Director is, or Sony Vegas these days, but it's a lot of money for something that you can just use outright for free. And if you want to upgrade to DaVinci Resolve Studio version, that's like a one-off payment. I prefer that when I'm trying something new to just not be charged for it. Plenty of time to play with it, get used to it, and that's why I still use DaVinci Resolve, and that's why I'm going to purchase the full version, because the only real difference is there's like a few video transitions and stuff that you can't use because they're only available in the full product. So when you go to use one of these, it comes up with this like, you have reached a limitation with the DaVinci Resolve, buy now. And you can just say no, not yet, and leave me alone. And also when you're encoding the video, which is where you like render it out at the end to a single video file, the studio version offers GPU encoding, which means it uses your graphics card, it doesn't kill your CPU, and it'll generally go quicker. Anyway, that's enough waffle about that. This is the software that I use. If you aren't familiar with how to use it, there's plenty of YouTube how-tos for beginners. If you're familiar with video editing software, this will kind of make a bit of sense. Another great thing about DaVinci Resolve, it has the fusion tools built into it, which means you can create like some proper 3D effect stuff. You can use green screen effects. I'll show you that in a minute actually, because that's kind of cool. Like, so you could put like a green screen explosion on your video or whatever. But this is sort of like the main screen you'll be looking at. Let's just drag a video file in here. I've got like a selection of GoPro video files. Let's just grab this, dump it on the timeline. This is basically what it looks like. Simple as that. Quick pro tip for you. If you ever have weird artifacts on your YouTube videos where it looks great on your computer, but then it comes up on your YouTube videos looking like absolute cack and there's all these blotchy shit all over the screen, that's probably because it's using a shit codec, because your video file is in like 1080p resolution. Even if you have recorded it in 1080, you upscale it. So you can either do that at the end in rendering, or you can create a timeline, untick use project settings, go to the format, and you can just upscale it. My GoPro records in 2.7K, so that would be 2704 by 1520, I think. There you go, 2704 by 1520. That's your widescreen 2.7K. You can also do 1440, which is 2560 by 1440. And the point of this is you upscale it. I'll set to 60 frames a second because I record at 60 FPS. So even if you're recording in 1080p, make your video bigger, because then when it goes onto YouTube, it'll be convinced to use a better codec and you won't get as many of those horrible artifacts. So got my timeline, dump down my video file. If I hit space, there you go, it plays some stuff. The real trick I have for streamlining this is hotkeys, right? In all video editors, you can split your clips. Some of them you'll like right click and click split. In this one, you use the blade tool, and then you'd click and it makes a split. So if you wanted to say cut out this bit, you'd cut it in two places, go back to your arrow, click on it, and then click delete. And then it cuts out that bit there. That's fine, but that's slow. What I prefer to do is to use hotkeys. In DaVinci Resolve, click the DaVinci Resolve button up the top, keyboard customization, and bada bing, bada boom. If you're using different software, it's going to be in a different place, but pretty much all of them will have hotkeys. You can see like Control D here changes clip duration. I've set split clips to F1. what that does is this. Is essentially that blade tool. It just chops things up super small, so when I do delete it, I haven't got to worry about going to the blade tool, clicking it, going back to the arrow tool, clicking it. I can just hit F1 anywhere I like, and there you go. Lots of little splits. Next keyboard customization I use, on F2, start to playhead. So under here, these are going to do different things. Resize, roll, ripple is when you delete something, it kind of squashes it all down on the line. I'll show you it, but I've set that to F2. So what that does is, say I've split this clip up, but I want this second clip to start here.
Here comes another.
I find the bit I want, I hit F2, and it pushes that to be the start of the clip.
Here comes another.
Like that. So rather than me having to come in here and go, I want that to be the end, and slice there with F1, and then find that and hit slice with F1, and then hit delete, I've just saved myself those few steps. It seems small, but that will save you loads of time. Just douche, douche, there you go. I'm moving on to the next clip. Next keyboard customization I set on F3, end to playhead. Again, under trim, under ripple, F3, end to playhead. This does basically the end of the clip. So I've wanted that to be the start of my clip.
Here comes another.
But I literally want that to be the end of it. Is I can go F3 and it gets rid of all the rest of the guff in that clip. Obviously you don't always want to do that, so I don't always use this tool much. So let's say I've got this.
Here comes another.
That's all I want there to be. But I also want to keep this bit here. So I'm going to stick a slash in there.
We'll actually see this time.
Then I can go back to this.
Here comes another.
And I can hit F3. And that squidges that whole clip down into that size. So that one doesn't get used as much, but it still does get its use. And the last one is ripple delete. This will be down under edit timeline, ripple delete, F4. And that is essentially going to get rid of this clip here, the same as the delete button does. But the ripple means it moves all the rest of it down. If it didn't ripple, it would look like that. And then I've got a big gap.
Welcome.
Which isn't what I want. So I have it as ripple delete, then I don't have to reach over the keyboard to find the delete key. I can just leave my hand in one place, F1, F2, F3, and F4. Those 4 little keys will save you so much time. Let's do an example. I'm just going to slice this up a little bit. So I want that bit to be my start.
Just sat having a pint and then all of these just turned up out of nowhere.
Then I'm going to slice it, because that's where I want that clip to end. I'm going to find the next piece I want to keep. This here looks like it's got some audio. So I'm going to hit F2, make that the start.
I want it to.
Let's find something else that I want. Here?
We'll actually see this time.
Yeah, here. I want this piece. So I know I'm going to want to start there, but this one...
I want it to.
I wanted F3, because that's going to be the end of that clip.
We'll actually see this time.
I'm going to F1 slice that, and F4 get rid of the rest.
Just sat having a pint and then all of these just turned up out of nowhere. I want it to. We'll actually see this time.
Those simple tools save you so much time rather than having to go to another tool to slice up and then go back and then delete. Moving your hand across the keyboard, you can leave your hand in one place. My hand is just resting, so I've got my thumb on the spacebar, and then which is my play pause, F1 for my slice, F2 for setting the start playhead, F3 for setting the end playhead, and F4 for deleting. It's simple, but that's the most time-saving thing I've had so far. So let's move on. My next tip is it's easy to get stuck in watching footage for ages. So you see this clip here? This is just going to be no commentary from me because I don't have a microphone. Essentially, I know that this is just going to be motorway riding. I can see from the audio. That's my next tip. Watch your audio, not your video. Because if you sat here trying to watch hours upon hours of just this, drive you absolutely mad. So rather than that, what I do is I start to skip along, and I'm watching the audio specifically for anything that's changing. This is all just one big blurb. But if I put all that back together, I can see the audio down at the start is different. So there might be talking here. I can tell this is of like where I'm going to start the bike, because you can see the audio has changed. It's all quiet here. And then this is beefed up. So I know that's going to be a start of the bike. So I want to put that in the clip. I'll hit F2. Hit F1 to slice my clip. I'm guessing that around about here is probably where I'm taking off, because I can see there's a few spikes in the audio.
Yeah. Right, another full tank.
Or it's me talking. That's what I'm looking for as well, watching the audio, not the video. I'm looking at the audio because then I can see there's a spike. I know there's something there that's going to be potentially interesting, so I can F2 to slice that in there.
Right, another full tank.
And then I hit F1, and that's the end of that clip.
Although it's not gone.
I found a bit more talking, so F2.
Although it's not gone.
Push F1 to slice that.
All the way to the tip of the top, yeah. Oh, it's creeping.
Then I can push F2.
Yeah. Oh, it's creeping. No, it's not.
And now I'm getting bored, so I want to move on to where we're traveling. I can see there's some changes. There's lots of little spikes in the audio over here. So yeah, that's where the wind is picking up. And I'm just scrolling through and I'm just stop-starting until I find the point where I leave. There it is. Hit F2. Stop again with space, hit F1. And now let's spin on to where we're getting onto the dual carriageway. I'm not really watching too much of the audio here. I'm watching for when I actually join it. Around about here, hit F2. That's the start of this clip. Don't need to linger on there, so I'm just going to stop that. And now we're stuck in this clip where it's just motorway miles for ages. So at this point, I'm not watching so much the audio, but it will give me a clue as to when something's stopped. It doesn't look like much is going on though. So for these, I'll just generally spin on until I find something interesting, because you got to kind of rely on your memory in a way. Like if there's something that jumps out at you, like you remember, oh, I passed that like American school bus when I was on the dual carriageway. Rely on your memory more, otherwise you're just going to be sat here slogging through this. But I remember roughly from this trip, it was just normal riding, nothing interesting happening. So I'm just going to spin on until I see something interesting. Make that quieter so it's not deafening me. Okay, I'm in the fast lane. I find that kind of interesting. I'm going to do a clip here. I usually would just hit space and count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The reason I do that is I don't want to keep my footage boring by just having it be the same long slog of nothing happening. But I still want to show that I'm traveling, so I do a little clip of about 8 seconds, and then later on, if I need it to be shorter or longer, to be in line with some like music over the top, then I can just click and drag it until it falls on a beat ready for a cut. I'll show you that in a second. Otherwise, I keep spinning on. Spin on down the line, nothing interesting happening. There's no talking, at least on my vlogs. On your vlogs, it'll probably be easier, because if you've got a microphone in your helmet, your audio will show a peak where you're talking. So you can you'll see it on here, and you'll go, oh, that's the bit where I'm talking, and you can just cut in there. 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. And the clip will go from leaving, going onto the dual carriageway. Actually, I feel that's a little bit long, so I'm going to hit F3 and shorten that. I'm on the dual carriageway. That's a bit long, so I'm going to hit F3 to get rid of that. That clip was actually boring, so I'm going to hit F4 to delete it and ripple it down. And then just keep spinning on, and then I'll find something. There was a yellow car there, that was interesting. There you go, yellow car on the other side of the road. So I'm just going to cut in. I want that to be a bit longer, so I'm just going to move it out of the way, drag it back. Everything snaps in DaVinci Resolve, which is really nice, so you don't have to worry about things being exact. There you go, that was an interesting clip. Well, it wasn't really, but I'm just working with the footage I got. So these are my sort of main tips. The hotkeys, the F1, F2, F3, F4, that's a lifesaver. They'll be called different things in different bits of software, but essentially you want to be able to split your clip, you want to be able to set the start of your clip, you want to be able to set the end of your clip, and you want to be able to delete and keep your timeline all snapped together. And it's as simple as that, really. Yeah, that's literally my quick tips there. I like DaVinci because it's free and it's good software. Every bit of video software you ever use is going to crash. That always happens. And DaVinci, you can set automatic backups to occur every few minutes, which is what I do. Go to the DaVinci Resolve menu, hit Preferences, click on User, Project Save and Load, and then perform backups every 5 minutes. So then when it does inevitably crash, which every software does, and then you lose hours of work, you don't have to worry. You're only set back 5 minutes. So that's why I like DaVinci Resolve, and it's just good kit. It's got lots of really cool tools built into it, but those hotkeys are the biggest time saver. And then the next thing is just watching your audio, not your video. If you see a peak, there might be something interesting. So rather than just sitting here watching yourself go down the road for like an hour, instead just spin on until you find something interesting. I see, like it's all looking pretty much the same on this clip. I use this clip, however, I can immediately see there. That looks different to this. This is all smooth and then it gets spiky. Let's make this bigger so you can maybe see it clearer. So I could, rather than sitting and wasting my time watching this, I can just go, oh, I know I start talking there because I can see it's spiky. And if you've got a microphone in your helmet, that'll be way more obvious because this smooth bit will be smaller and this spiky bit will be taller.
So that's the only reason I don't want the momentum to die down.
And then I can see there's empty space here.
Momentum to die down.
So F1, spin on. I start talking around here, F2.
So that's the only reason I don't want the momentum to die down. But I'm not going to post on this channel for the sake of posting, you know?
So that's what I'm doing. I'm barely watching the video. I'm watching the video when I hit play, but otherwise I'm looking for these bits. So I can see this is all just, I'm chit-chatting, I'm chit-chatting, I'm chatting shit, I'm chatting shit, I'm chatting shit. I'm just chatting shit constantly in this one. Oh, there's a lull here. So what's going on here?
Left down that one, that's the one way.
There you go. See, I can see the difference because this is now shorter and it's smoother. It hasn't got all of these big spiky bits which would indicate either wind or talking.
I think that means they're windproof as well. Oh, this is a bit of a weird junction. Okay.
And then it goes quiet here.
Way.
And that's just engine noise. And then I can spin on and I see there's something happening around about here, slightly bulgier. Oh, it's me whistling. Okay, this one has spiked up quite a bit more bulgy, so we know that something's about to happen. So let's set that as my start. I'm just going to see what happens. Ah, that's where we take off. And now I didn't have to sit there and watch that for 5 minutes while I'm sat at a red light. I just saw, oh, there's something here, so that's probably where it is. And then I can just spin on to look at the audio, not the video. That'll speed up the process so much. And then if there's bits you do remember, like where you're on a motorway and you remember that nothing happened between one service stop to the next, then just keep spinning on down the line until you find something interesting. What I do is I just keep spinning on with these longer trips and I find a bunch of clips that I kind of like the look of, and then I end up deleting half of them because it's just like I watch it back and I'm thinking, you know what, I don't need that much in there, otherwise I'm just getting bored. If I'm getting bored, I know you're getting bored, you know? Now, I did promise a couple of things here. Let's have a play with some cooler tools. So this is Fusion. You can do all kinds of stuff in Fusion. I don't entirely understand it because it's well beyond me, but this is for like adding in trackers and 3D things. For instance, if you push shift space when you're in here, type in tracker, add that. I've got this little green box. So let's say I want it to track. So I've used that tiny little square there to move it around. And then I'm just going to find something to track. We will try the top clamp thing there. I'm going to make this bigger by just clicking and dragging it around it. And then we're going to click this button to track backwards because I'm in the middle of the clip. And it's just looking for, we've set the space of where this should be tracking, and we've told it this is what you should be tracking, and then for every frame it's just making sure that there's something within this bigger green circle that looks like that, and I'm staying on it. And we're going to track forwards as well. This takes a second, but this is kind of cool. And this will take longer if you're running 60 frames a second footage like I am. Okay, so that has now got the entire clip tracking that. Let's stick a text on there. Gonna type some text in there. You can muck around in here. You can change your font, change your color, change your size, tracking, line spacing, that kind of stuff. But what I want to do is this text is going to need to go into what's called a transform node. That will let me move it around the screen. And then out from the transform node, we go into the tracker. Going to click on the tracker, click on operation, click on match move. Now you see my text has appeared on screen. I'm going to use this transform to move it around a little bit. Zoom out a bit. Actually, I don't like how this text looks, so I'm going back to the text node. And I'm just going to make this into Dilato. That's the usual text I like to use. Put it onto two separate lines. Go back into transform. I'm just going to rotate that slightly. bring it down, bring it left. There you go, that's cool. Now, watch. This is now anchored to that top clamp. So if I go back to the start of the clip and hit play. See, now that text is bouncing all over the screen, but it is perfectly in line with that. See? Pretty cool, huh? So that's something cool with Infusion that you can have. If you want to have like a subscribe button that's like attached to your bike and stuff like that. Pretty cool. And also we got stuff in like coloring. The color tab has a lot of information in it. It's a lot to take in. The main thing that I use is I go to the color wheels. I set it to actually show me the color wheels because I like to have a visual cue of what I'm doing. And then you can increase your gamma, which makes things sort of brighter, increase your gain, which makes your lights brighter, offset, bring down the lift. And I'm just grabbing these bars and dragging them left and right. And if you don't like what it's done, like there's reset buttons all over DaVinci Resolve, so you can just click reset, 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 and bosh, it's back to where it was. You can increase the saturation, increase the contrast, you know, make it super bright. Oh, actually, I want it to be more green, but only, you know, you can just sort of muck around with these. You know, you can start changing all your hues, so there's a lot to play with in it. Very powerful tools, but I could do a video going into more details with that sort of stuff, but just like these are kind of like the loose tools. And I guess the final thing I sort of do is more to do with audio, and that's in the Fairlight tab. You can tell because it's got a little music symbol on it. There's again a lot in here, but if you want to make your audio sound better overall, here's just some quick things you can do. Go over here to bus 1. This is your sort of like main master output. Everything goes through this at the end. Click on effects on the plus, go down to dynamics, Fairlight FX, limiter. Stick that at the very end, and then it doesn't matter what you do, you won't get clipping when it goes onto your YouTube video. And then if you've got an additional track in here, so say you have got a commentary track. I haven't got one, but let's just add something in. So now I've got 2 audio tracks. If I go back into Fairlight, you'll see I've got 2 audio tracks. I've got another audio bus here. Let's say that this second audio track is just where I'm going to have all my microphone stuff. It's just going to be chit chat. There's an effect in here under channel called the dialogue processor. You could literally just put this on as it is without fiddling with anything, and it will make your voice sound better. And then you can just ramp up the volume. With that limiter in place, I'm going to take my headphones off for this, and I'll make sure that this isn't bad in editing and overpowering for you. But essentially, I can take this track here and I can stick it up at 10. You see it's clipping here. That's what this red means. But that's not passing over it onto your main bus because you've got that limiter in place. This is clipping. That is not. That limiter is keeping this from clipping, keeping it from crackling, keeping everything looking kosher. So dialogue process is good if you've got chit chat on there. In fact, I'll take it off of there. I'll stick it on my main track. I'm going to stick the male exciter on there because I am usually male. I'm going to up the compression a little bit. And then if I go find a part where I'm doing some talking. Sorry, Diana, I'm going to eat a sausage roll before you have your food. And then without that. Sorry, Diana, I'm going to eat a sausage roll before you have your food. So it kind of makes your voice pop out a little bit more. Sorry, Diana, I'm going to eat a sausage roll before you have your food. But at the same time, I'm in here and I'm hitting play and I'm looking at these levels and they're not very high. So let's say I want my voice to shout out above everything else. I can whack that all the way up. Sorry, Diana, I'm going to eat a sausage roll before you have your food. And thanks to my limiter, it's not going to clip or anything, but then that's how I can have the most maximum amount of volume coming out of a YouTube video without having to worry. I've got my limiter, I've got my dialogue processor, I know my dialogue is going to come out crisp and clear, and it gets rid of a lot of the rumbling and then the pop and stuff like that, which is always useful because especially if you're motovlogging, there's going to be a lot of interference and crap like that. And then the final thing I was mucking around with was putting some music on the track. Let's mute our main track a minute so we can hear the music. Something I think is a very good thing to do. If you have music on your clips, it's just to synchronize your clips to it. Again, we're watching audio, not watching video. You see all these spikes? These are probably going to be beats. So I can see that's where this music starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the F1 key to slice that. Now, there is one thing I didn't really tell you about earlier, which is that if I hit F4 now to delete something, it's going to shift everything down the line. And all of a sudden, that's ruined my video clip. I don't want to do that. So in this case, I don't want that ripple to happen. So rather than using F4, I'm going to use backspace, which is a delete without a ripple. Now I'm going to take that first beat that's on my change clip here, and then I can drag this back if I want, and as it comes into this, it's going to change at exactly the right moment. That clip there, that wasn't on a beat, so that seemed weird. Let's move that to where it's on a beat. Right, there's a beat, so I can either increase the length of the clip, or if I want the exact clip, I can click and drag it in place, and now it will. That's a simple little trick. If you've got loads of clips and you don't want to worry about video transitions, just stick them all on the beats. So let's just muck around with this for a minute. You just watch this. F3. F3. F2. That's in the wrong place. Let's readjust that. F2. F3. Now watch, this is all going to be synchronized on every 4th beat or every 8th beat, sort of like what music usually is. So that's a cool little thing you can do. This has been a completely fucking unplanned experience. Oh, I did also say I'd show you some green screen things. So if you go onto YouTube and you type in anything with green screen, so like explosion green screen, you'll find some explosions that have a green screen behind them. I've got myself this explosion here. Isn't that cool? I'm going to stick that explosion down on my timeline by just clicking and dragging, and you'll see it's actually added a second video track above it, because you want this to be above the clip that you're working on, right? Now, I come in here and it's taken over my video. Well, what we do is I go into that Fusion tab whilst this is selected, while this is highlighted on top of it. Go into Fusion, I'm going to do Shift and Space. This time we're going to type in Delta, and you see the Delta key, click on Add. And again, there's lots of tools to play with in this, but usually I just click the eyedropper, click and drag it over the green, and then when it's over the green, because you can have it like take out this color, but take out the green, then release the mouse, and that's literally it. Now something else that has happened here is this explosion, although it looks cool, it's come with a blank audio track and it's wiped out my music. But if I try and delete that music, if I click on that music and hit delete, it takes out the whole thing, even if I hit backspace. That's because these are linked. Just like all these other clips, you can see the video and the audio is linked. But in DaVinci Resolve, hold down the Control key, hold down the Alt key, hit the L key for link. That little paper clip you see has now disappeared. If I click off of it, these two are now separate entities, and I can delete that. And now I can put my music back in place, and now I'm going to have this. We need a bigger explosion than that. Let's zoom that in, move it around a bit. Bigger, bigger, bigger. Want this to take up almost the entire screen. There we go. A bit too big. Move it around till I find where I want it to be. So that's something kind of cool that you can muck around with. And then if I want to fade that out, I've got like a little fade tool that you just click and drag on the end. So these are all fun things. Now, let's say I've made myself a video. Okay, I'm not really trying to do a how to use DaVinci Resolve, but you know, if you're just starting out motovlogging and you're watching this and you're thinking, right, I've put this all together, how do I get it into a file? That's the deliver button down here. So in here, you can give it a name. You can tell it where you want to save it. So I'm just going to call this my tester. It's going to come up with loads of stuff here. Pretty much YouTube will take any format. I like MP4 myself. The timeline resolution. If you've already set your timeline, like we did earlier, we created a timeline like this. don't use the project settings, and we increased it to, well, 2.7K resolution, and we set our frame rate. If you haven't done that, let's say you've come in, you created your timeline, you forgot to do that, you just click create, and it turns out that this timeline is actually in 1080p. It's not the end of the world, because you can upscale it at the end. You can come in here, you can go custom, and you can set in here your upscaling, and that'll stop a lot of those artifacts because you'll get the better codec on YouTube. Anyway, we're delivering. So we've called it the tester, we've given it a location, we've set our resolution, it's saying 60 frames a second, click add to render queue, it pops over to the right hand side up here, click render all, and your computer's going to start rendering this out into a file.
Eventually.
There you go, there's our tester. Problem is I left my main track muted, so you can't actually hear the motorbike at all, but if I spin on a little ways, you'll see we do actually have that music we put in there. Fuck's sake. So there you go, that's kind of like the basics, I guess. I didn't mean for this to turn into like a how-to video, but just as a summary, DaVinci Resolve is a great piece of software because it's free, so you don't have to worry about spending money if you don't get on with it. And you want to use those hotkeys or keyboard shortcuts, because that is the biggest time saver. Watch the audio instead of the video, see where you're talking, see where there's something interesting happening. Otherwise, just keep skipping down the line until you find something. If you remember, oh yeah, in the middle of that trip, I remember there was something I wanted to see, then you will have to sit there and just plod on through the footage until you find it. But essentially, I don't watch my footage, I just keep clicking through, really, until I find something, and only then do I hit play. That's pretty much it, I guess. That's kind of how I get through my editing so quickly, is I just do the hotkeys, watch the audio, and if there's something specific that happened on the ride that I want to remember, like in this video. Oh my God, why? When I went through that giant puddle, I knew that was coming. So rather than just sitting here and watching this whole bit of footage here, and waiting, I just start skipping along. I was like, oh, I know this bit of road, I know it was around here, and then I start my clip, F2, there. That was a little bit too much of a drag, so I'm actually going to take a little bit off, F2, there. Oh my God, why? F1 to clip that. Then I want to start here, that laughing F2. And then I'm done with that clip, so F3. It's simple tricks like that. Once you really get into the swing of it, it'll feel like it's not saving you huge amounts of time while you're getting used to it. Then once you get used to it, it is like triple speed. I don't think there's anything else to really add to this. I didn't like script any of this out. I just sort of went for it. So it's turned out exactly however it's turned out. Those are your 4 tips. Try out DaVinci Resolve. It's a really good bit of software and it won't cost you a penny. Use your hotkeys, your keyboard shortcuts. Watch your audio, not your video, and only stop to watch something if you remember something specific happened at that point. Otherwise, it's probably not even worth your time. This has been a how-to video brought to you by me. God, this is so fucking awkward. I don't know if I'm even going to put this on YouTube. I said I would. I'm going to have to. Oh, God. I'm better when I'm on the bike. All right. Bye, everyone. Fucking hell. I'm waving at my keyboard. I'm not in front of the camera. Why am I waving at my fucking keyboard? All right, bye.